Hi all, welcome back. In this video, we'll learn how to make this really cute, colorful, and simple granny stitch bucket hat. I'll be showing you how to make a size small, but the pattern can be adjusted to fit any head size. I'll be using a bulky weight 5 acrylic yarn. This is the Loops and Threads textured twist, a 6mm crochet hook, and a pair of scissors. We'll start by making a magic ring. Hold down a tail of yarn like this in front of your fingers, then wrap yarn around your fingers and turn it over to create an X. Insert the crochet hook under the first strand and over to grab the second one, then pull it underneath and scoop it up. Then put your crochet hook under that strand in the back, and we'll pull that strand through the loop that's on the hook. Remove your fingers, and this is the magic ring. Next we will chain 3, and the chain 3 will count as the first double crochet of the round. Inside the circle, we're going to insert 11 more double crochets. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert the crochet hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat this pattern until you reach 12 double crochets in the circle. At the end of the round, pull the string in the back of the circle to close the hole that's in the center. Then we will slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. For the rest of the pattern, we're going to be working into the chain spaces only. So to find the chain space, I'm going to open up between these two posts and first do a slip stitch. And to start the new round, we will chain 3. And once again, the chain 3 will count as our first double crochet. We're going to go back in the same space and do another double crochet. So now I have 2 double crochets, and we're going to repeat the pattern of 2 double crochets in each chain space until the end of the round. After finishing 2 double crochets all the way around, we will slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. After that, we will slip stitch to our chain space. So first I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch like this. And now in the space, we're going to do a slip stitch in the space and chain 3. And same as the last round, the chain 3 will count as our first double crochet. Now we're going to go back in the same chain space and do 2 more double crochets. Here's the first one, and here's the second one. Now I have a cluster of 3 double crochets, and I'm going to skip over the 2 double crochets we did last round and do another cluster of 3 double crochets in the next chain space. There's the first one. Here's the second one. And the third one. Repeat the pattern of cluster of 3 double crochets in each chain space until the end of the round. So here I'm skipping over the 2 double crochets we did last round and going into that next space and doing a cluster of 3 double crochets. At the end of the round, we will slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 and slip stitch our way over to the chain space. So in the next stitch, I'm going to do a slip stitch right here, and I'll do another slip stitch in the next stitch, and we've reached the chain space. So now I'm going to do a slip stitch into that space and chain 3. In this next round, we're going to start by doing a cluster of 4 double crochets in the first chain space. So I'm going to go back in and do 3 double crochets because our chain 3 counts as a double crochet. After you finish a cluster of 4 in the first space, we're going to insert 3 double crochets in the next chain space. So we're skipping over 3 posts and inserting the crochet hook into the next space and doing 3 double crochets. We'll skip over the 3 posts, and our next space we'll do 4 double crochets. Repeat the pattern of a cluster of 4 double crochets in one space followed by a cluster of 3 double crochets in the next space until the end of the round. At the end of the round, slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And we're going to slip stitch all the way until we reach the middle of the cluster of 4. So this is the first slip stitch, and this is the center of that cluster of 4. So I'll slip stitch into that space and chain 3. Round 5 will be the last round of increases for the crown of the hat. In this round, we will work a cluster of 3 double crochets in each chain space. So here's 3 in the first space, and I'll skip over to the next space and do another 3 double crochets. I'll skip over the 3 posts from last round and do a cluster of 3 in the next chain space. Once we reach the 4-stitch cluster from last round, we're going to work in this space in between. So I'll insert my crochet hook in the middle of that cluster and work 3 double crochets. I'll skip over the 2 posts from last round and in the next space do 3 double crochets. Continue to repeat the pattern of 3 double crochets in each chain space until the end of the round. At the end of the round, we'll slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And we'll slip stitch over to the chain space. So there's the first slip stitch, and I will do a slip stitch into the chain space, chain 3. So now we're no longer going to be increasing until we reach the brim of the hat. So for the next 6 or 7 rounds, we will work 3 double crochets in each chain space. So I'm doing my first 3 double crochets in the first space, and I'll skip over the 3 from last round and do 3 double crochets in the next chain space. So I'm going to repeat these rounds until the hat reaches just above my eyebrows before we start working on the brim, but it is up to you how long you want your bucket hat to be. So if you do want it past your eyebrows or ears, you can add more rows and remove rows if you want it to be smaller. But keep in mind, we will be adding a brim to this hat. I did a total of 6 rows so far of the body, and I'm going to do 1 more row, but I did realize I'm running out of the yarn color, so I'm going to attach this forest green yarn at some point in round 7. So I'm just starting round 7, but keep going until you reach the length that you want your body to be. If you did want to change colors at some point in your bucket hat or attach more yarn, we can do that by creating a standing double crochet. First, take the yarn that you want to attach and make a slip knot. Insert the crochet hook into the loop, then yarn over as if we're starting a double crochet, and hold that yarn down and insert into the chain space. So I'm holding down my yarn, and we're going to pull up a loop, pull through 2, then pull through 2. So that's how to do the standing double crochet, but you can also tie a knot if you're more comfortable with that method. I'm just tying a knot here to make sure that the yarn is in place. And I'll continue working the cluster of 3 double crochets until the end of the round. At the end of round 7, I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, slip stitch in the next stitch, slip stitch one more time, and we're at the chain space, so we're going to slip stitch in that space, then chain 3. For the final part of the hat, we will work on the brim. To start the brim, work a cluster of 3 double crochets in the first chain space. Then we'll chain 1. And in the next space, we're going to work 2 clusters. So we'll first do 3 double crochets. So this is one cluster, I will chain 1, and back in the same space we'll work another cluster of 3. After finishing 2 clusters of 3 in one space, we'll chain 1, and in the next space we're going to do 2 clusters as well. So we'll do 3 double crochets, chain 1, then 3 double crochets in the same chain space. So repeat the pattern of 1 cluster of 3 in the first space, followed by 2 clusters, 2 clusters, and then 1 cluster until the end of the round. When you reach the last cluster, remember to chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. Slip stitch our way over to the chain space, so we'll slip stitch in this first stitch, slip stitch in the next stitch, and here's a preview of the hat so far. I tried on my hat and I'm going to add one more round to the brim. So for this next round, or however many rounds you want to add, we're going to work a cluster of 3 in each chain space. So first I'll slip stitch in the space and chain 3. And in that same space I will work 2 more double crochets. Chain 1. Then we'll skip over to the middle of that 6-stitch cluster and we're going to work 3 double crochets in that chain space. After a cluster of 3, chain 1, and in the next space we will repeat the same thing. Continue this pattern of 3 double crochets followed by a chain 1 in each chain space until the brim of the hat reaches your desired length. I do recommend that you try on your hat as you work on these rounds to make sure that it fits you the way that you want. So that ended up being the last round for my bucket hat, and when you finish all your rounds we can slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. And we'll fasten off. To fasten off, chain 1 and pull the yarn through, then take your scissors and cut off the yarn. The last part of the project would be to weave in any loose ends, so I'm going to take my crochet hook and just weave in that tail of yarn into the brim of the hat. So I'm just pulling it through each stitch here until it's hidden. Here's the final product of my hat. I really like the color scheme and the way it came out. So thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.